Hello, welcome to another video where I share some thoughts on philosophy, on some important topics regarding philosophy. As you can probably tell in the title of this video, I'm going to be discussing reality, truth, and goodness, and the relationship that I find with those three main important things. Today, I'm just going to go through what I see each one of those things are, as well as the relationship between each other and how we can look at those moving forward. So that's just a brief summary real quick, but let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about what each of those things are. What is truth? What is reality? What is goodness? And this is how I would define it. Reality, simply put, is. It is existent. It is how things are. It is. It's not non-existence. It's not nothing. It is existence. It is. So if something exists, it is part of reality. This shouldn't really be that controversial or anything else. I don't expect many people to disagree with that, but I just want to put that out there. For truth, we'll actually move on to goodness next, before we get to truth, because there's a special thing about truth that I want to talk about. So with goodness, I would say goodness is the quality of a person, and whether or not the person is good or bad is describing the quality of that person, and so on. Now, what about truth? Truth is describing of reality. If something is true, it is an accurate description of reality. It isn't reality itself. So whenever I say truth is not real, that is not to say that it is non-existent in some sense. Depends on how you word it. But what I'm saying by that is that they're describing two different things. What is real is describing what is existent. What is true is whether or not it's an accurate description of reality. Okay. Now that we have those things kind of set forward, what can we say about the relationship about them? What I find is the relationship that we find with goodness, truth, and reality mirrors pretty much everything ever. We can talk about, let me describe the relationship real quick, and I'll show how there are so many mirrors of this relationship you can find just looking around you. Literally, you could, with the screen that you're watching this on, you can see an example of what I'm about to show. Okay. So goodness is describing the quality. Truth is supposed to be the description of reality, and reality is the existent thing. Then truth is the relationship between the good and the real. And let me put as an example of this. When I see, for example, let's say I see a pile of wood. I see that wood, and the wood is real. And it is me as the observer who is seeing the wood. But I'm not seeing the wood. I'm seeing the current, I can't see everything in the wood. Like, for example, I can't see the wood on the other side of where I'm looking at. Or I can't see all of its qualities or everything about it. So I'm not seeing the wood, I'm seeing the truth of the wood. I'm seeing a representation of the wood that is able to fit with the relationship that I have with reality. Now, what you can see is that the relationship, because this is an often thought about question in philosophy, which is whenever you see like a candle, for example, are you seeing the candle or are you seeing the idea of a candle on top of the real thing? And this goes into a bit of ontology here, which is the study of being and what exists. But I don't think we see the actual thing. I don't think any of us see reality. Because otherwise, the only way we can see reality is if we are part of reality. And now you may say, of course we're part of reality, we're real. But to me, it's describing two different qualities of realness. One is the foundational, the thing, and then one is describing the quality of the thing. And if you remember, I identify the person with the quality or the goodness. So then with that, what we have is we're not seeing the actual thing, we're seeing the qualities of the thing. For example, whenever I see wood, I see its texture, I see its shape, I see its color, I see a number of things. If I walk over and I touch it, I'm able to touch how it feels. I'm able to touch its roughness or its smoothness, or I'm able to feel it. I can smell wood. Some woods give certain odors or smells to them, or fragrances. There's numerous different ways that I can have sensations of wood. But I'm not actually experiencing the wood as wood, I'm experiencing the qualities of that wood. And so, how I see it is that whenever we see things, we're not actually seeing the thing, we're seeing the qualities of that thing. And the reason for it, and we'll get into this probably in another video, is that we are not real in the sense of a thing. We are just modes of qualitative stuff. We're modes of qualia. We are, and that goes into consciousness and things like that. So whenever you see like a ball, for example, you are not seeing the actual thing. The actual thing itself has no quality, but it has quality attached to it, which makes it perceivable to you. But if it doesn't have any such quality, it might as well be invisible. But because it has that quality with it, attached to it, it becomes something that already was real becomes perceivable. And so what I find is that relationship is like, and this is a perfect mirror, I think, between the relationship of reality, truth, and goodness, is that what's real is that foundational thing, but it's often invisible to us unless there's a truth to it, and that truth is dependent upon our relationship with it, with reality. And I think one thing as well that shows that truth is relationship and not foundational is that, listen, this is not describing reality. I know this may sound like I'm trying to debunk objective reality or anything like that. I'm not. What I'm describing is that what we perceive instead varies based off of our relationship with reality. And that variation, that's the variation between good and bad, which goes back to goodness. And in the video that I talked about was trustworthiness and ethics and things like that, I go a lot more into depth into goodness and what is good. But what I'm trying to do here is try to find that balance between objective reality, which I do think exists, but we don't necessarily perceive all of reality. It's the same question of, is water wet? I would say no, because there's a different the quality of wetness is not the same thing as water. And that quality of wetness, it isn't the reality of the thing. It is the truth of it in the sense that it is describing it. It's describing the thing. Wetness is describing the water, but it's not the water itself. Water is reality. Wetness is the truth, and you are the goodness as the perceiver. So what to kind of see with this? This is an entirely different view of what exists, and this relates also. I mean, we talk about ontology in this video. This also relates to consciousness and how consciousness can play a part with it. And for those that say that we observe objective reality, I think we do, but we don't observe objective reality. We observe accurately the truth that's been attached to what's real. We don't actually experience the reality as itself. We're experiencing the qualities that have been attached to it. And these qualities could be attached to anything. I think there's an order to why they were attached to a certain thing and not the other thing. But hypothetically speaking, they don't necessarily have to be. It's just that the way that reality is structured, that it includes, that existence is structured, that you have what's real and what's true being separate things. True being describing or having the quality of what's real, and what's good is describing the perceiver. Now, do our perceptions change what we perceive? I guess let's say it a different way. Are we changing what seems real? If that makes sense. And the answer is yes. And we see this in quantum reality, in that depending on if we're looking at a thing, it will change. I mean, there's the famous, what's it called? The experiment showed whether or not it's a particle or a wave. I wish I could describe it better. But it ultimately was found is that if we look at something, then it becomes a certain thing. If we don't, it becomes something different. And I think this isn't to say that we change reality. We can't change reality. But it is to say that there's a special relationship with reality, and the quality of what we experience, the qualities of it, of what we experience, changes because it ultimately is a relationship between us and the thing that we're experiencing, instead of the actual thing itself. And so we don't necessarily, it's like experiencing something behind a curtain. We're not actually seeing the thing behind the curtain, but we get to know a lot about it through experience. And so, yeah, those are just a few of my thoughts on that. I know that probably moved in a direction different than many people think these sort of things out of, but I think it's important, because once we're able to understand what is true, what is real, what is good, and again, the goodness simply applies to the observer, the person. And in case you think that goodness doesn't, it also applies to others. What is real is going to be real. And I mean, there's no gooder real or badder real. What's real is just real, and they're just separate conversations whenever we talk about what's good and what's real. Same with what's true. It doesn't matter if what's true is good or bad, it's true. And so, and it's the same thing as like, it doesn't matter if what's true is necessarily real, although that may sound weird. It may sound weird, but we know that that's true. Again, going to that experiment. What was true may not necessarily be describing what's real. They often are, and that's how we can trust truth, but they're not the same thing. And what's real may not necessarily be true, because truth is the description of what's real, not the thing that's real itself. I know that this video is not necessarily a set of arguments or a set of step-by-step propositions and A, B, C, D, just laying it out and putting a pretty formal argument to it. A lot of this is just me thinking out loud here and sharing my thoughts on certain topics. So this may sound a bit like rambling, but the point being, and hopefully is able to, that you're able to get as you try to think about what's true, what's good, and what's real, and the relationship thereof, is hopefully this video is able to help bring a certain perspective to it, and able to bring some other things. And if anyone has any questions, want me to go further into any points, this was just mostly just pretty brief. I could honestly talk for hours about this, but I don't think I would be able to do that. I do not have the capabilities of 1, recording a video of that length, 2, of editing a video of that length, and 3, probably of downloading a video to publish of that length. So I can't do that, at least not yet. I'm still very, doing this in a very amateur way. So, but I'm happy to write things out. I'm much happier to write things out. I'm much better at writing down my thoughts than I am with, than speaking, but hopefully these sort of videos are able to help me be able to explain these sort of topics versus just only being able to write, because I think both are very important skills. So anyways, I've now gone off on a different topic. Truth, reality, goodness. Those are 3 separate things, but they describe a very important part of what is about existence, about ontology, and that existence can help inform us in this in future discussions on what is real, because we're gonna that's a very important thing. If we want to discuss about anything, we have to have a functional ontology. We have to be able to have a functional way of viewing the world, what is real, and without that, we might as well be saying nonsense. We might as well be saying unjustifiable things. So we need to have something that's justified in reality, that's justified in has a logical system to it, and if we don't, then we can't really claim, we can't say anything. So these are just some thoughts, some basis, some brief discussion. Hopefully this video is at least insightful, thoughtful, even if you found it completely ridiculous. Can help you and can help you think about some of these things as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys for the next video. See you later.